Well, if your child is easily distracted and struggles to stay focused and finish that homework, well, it is frustrating, not only for the child, but probably also for you. Chances are that you've already learned that nagging and punishing, it doesn't get you anywhere. So the question is, what works? We've got Ann Dolin with us today. She's the founder and president of Educational Connections Tutoring, and she joins us now. She's got some great tips.
Hi,
it's good
Melanie.
to see you once again, Ann.
You too.
So kids, you know, they do struggle with homework, even the best kids, and sometimes it is just a matter of staying focused. What are some of the most common distractions?
Well, the first thing is to think about what type of distraction is really hanging up your child. So some kids are hyperactive, and that means they kind of have a motor inside of them, and they tend to be the impulsive type of kids. Whereas other kids are more inattentive. They kind of, you know, will space out a little bit. They go into another world. Those kids have a different type of profile. So what you do for each one is a little bit different.
I can imagine. But you also have to realize that these kids have been cooped up in school since, what, 7 in the morning, and they probably haven't gotten recess.
Right.
And then here they are, you know, they're saddled with this homework. They have to come home and sit again in front of a desk. So it's a long day. I guess for some kids, they may need to get outside and run around the block, huh?
Oh, they do. And you know, aerobic exercise increases attention as much as a low dose of a stimulant medication that treats ADHD like Ritalin or Adderall. So exercise before homework is key. I always recommend to parents that they give their kids a break. You know, usually about a half hour is enough, but not screen time, not the Xbox or texting. Get them out there to play.
Great idea, some fresh air.
Yeah.
And then a little snack always fuels up the brain too, right?
Oh, sure, most definitely.
Something you don't want to spoil their dinner, but you know,
something
like
with protein usually helps.
Okay, all right. So now here we are in the home. What's the best way to set up a study space for your child?
Well, a couple things. You know, when we grew up, we probably did homework at a desk, and many of our kids are not really good desk sitters. They may do homework in different ways. Maybe you have a child that's better standing up doing homework or laying on the floor, and maybe they have a lap desk that they put their book on, and they're pretty efficient that way. What we do know is that when kids do homework in a different place every day, they retain more information. So the key is pick really
See, that surprises me.
It is. It's interesting because I used to always be of the mindset same place every day in and out, but actually new research is showing that when you alternate place on a day-by-day basis, so maybe one day it's the kitchen table, the next day it's the home office, the third day it's the dining room, the student is going to retain more information.
Now, what do you think's going on there with the child?
Well, it's really opening. It's first of all, anytime you're in a new place, it's novel and it's more interesting. And when things are more interesting, you're more likely to focus. So that alone
makes sense.
Is definitely something that helps.
Okay. Now, if your child is still bouncing off the walls, how do you know that it's just that they're fidgety or something a little more serious, like maybe a medical condition?
Like ADHD, is that what you're thinking? Well, a couple things. You know, many kids are inattentive and it's really developmental. You see it often with younger kids. But as kids get older, the hyperactive part usually goes away, but the inattentive part is still there. However, if it's affecting the child's academic performance or maybe their social life, if it's really affecting a life function, and those are the most important words, then the parent should possibly go and see the pediatrician if the condition is chronic. We're talking about more than just a bad day, Melanie, but something that's really interfering with the quality of life.
Now, it looks like you brought some great props with you today.
I did.
Can you run through some of these that'll help us help our kids to study better?
Well, you know, I mentioned that some kids are kind of the grabbers and the impulsive type, and they kind of have to be moving. And this product, you've probably seen it before. It's buckyballs, and buckyballs are really cool. They're basically magnets, but they serve as a fidget toy too. So when kids are always having to touch and hold things, they're craving sensory stimulation. And as parents, it's our first instinct to say, put that down, stop it, pay attention. But actually, research shows when you give them something to hold, like a Tangle Junior, this is another research-based toy, they're actually a lot more attentive than if they don't have anything to play with.
And where are they getting the hand free? I mean, you got your laptop, you got the keyboarding, you got a pencil or something like that.
Well, this would be for younger kids that are handwriting. I would say this would be definitely for a younger child to hold in their non-writing hand. An older student, and actually I was introduced to these by a 17-year-old who carries them from class to class, always has them in his pocket. Same thing, non-writing hand.
Okay, sort of like worry beads or something for
Pretty
kids.
much. Yeah, exactly.
All right, what else you have here?
Well, you know, one thing that parents say to me all the time time is, I'm so sick of nagging my kid. I feel like I'm always saying, get started, pay attention, focus, get that homework done. And as parents, we're always kind of like that external piece that tries to focus the child, but we want to put it back on the child so that we're not always having to be involved, right? And so one way you can say it is, you know, let's say Jimmy, I'm going to give you 3 reminders to complete your math. And you put 3 chips in a bowl, and you say, and each time I give you a reminder to get going and to stay focused, I'll take a chip out. So when the child has a visual and sees how many reminders he has, it's far more effective than, Jimmy, have you finished yet? Are you focused? Have you done your homework? When they have that in front of them, they're a lot more likely to focus on their own without a parent having to cajole.
So if I'm Jimmy, I'm looking at the bowl and I'm saying, oh, only got 2 more chances to be reminded. I better get moving.
Yes, that's
okay,
exactly
that
right.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, and a couple other things. You know, sometimes kids can pay attention for a short amount of time, but a long amount of time, forget it. So they're just going to be more productive in 10 minutes as opposed to, say, a half hour. So one thing a parent can do is have an hourglass, and the student puts it down and says to himself, I'm going to work as hard as I can for as long as the sand is going down, and then after the sand goes down, I have 2 choices. I can either take a break or keep on going. Many times kids can keep on going, but they need that external sense of urgency to stay focused. A timer does the same thing.
So it's basically like short little bursts of activity, and then I get a break.
It's so much better.
Easier
much
to
better.
Take it in small bites,
Exactly,
right?
yes.
Lots
that's
of
for
great
sure.
ideas. Ann Dolin, thanks for showing us some of them. Appreciate it. And
Thank
I
you.
guess parents will be appreciative too.
I hope so.
All right, well, coming up next here on this show, women with curves, how the plus-size body image is becoming more mainstream. And check out our blog. It's tbd.com. Enter in the keywords Let's Talk Live. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.